All cases, we try to leverage the architecture.
Please drop your questions in the Q&A box and we'll answer as many as we can live.
And I'm going to give you a sneak peek into the VAST AI operating system.
Hello, everyone. My name is Colleen Quinn, and I am understanding that I am frozen on camera. It's always exciting to have a little technical issue to keep you going. So hopefully that resolves itself. I'm going to turn the camera off, and hopefully we'll give it a shot as we go. But I do not want that to take away from how excited I am to be with you all today to talk about what is new in the VAST AI operating system. Super exciting, and I'm really thrilled to talk about all of the capabilities that have been made generally available as of just last week. I love getting questions. So if you would like to submit questions, it's really easy. If you look over on the right-hand side of your panel, there is a Q&A option. I'm going to ask you to put any questions you do have in the Q&A section, if you will. If for some reason you would prefer to ask a question anonymously, you can also elect to hide your name. And so let's dive in. I'm going to do a quick camera check and see if it's resolved itself. Still frozen. Okay, well, that's okay. So again, I'm super excited to talk to you about what is new in the VAST AI operating system. We're going to be talking about two major developments. One is the official launch of our Insight Engine. I'll tell you exactly what that is here in a few seconds. And then also some next generation analytics capabilities. Of course, we'll take Q&A at the end and wrap up. Please submit your questions as you have them. And I will reserve them all until the end here. So we have all been working in the world of big data for a long time, or certainly I have. And big data just keeps getting bigger, and big data is big problems. And so AI is really unleashing a wave of, frankly, the biggest data we've ever seen. And in many ways, that brings with us the biggest problems. How do we make sense of all the data that we have? More importantly, how do you prepare and put all of your data to use for this wave and avalanche of AI that is happening and that we're in the throes of and that will really only continue to accelerate? And more importantly, how do you do that without endless complexity and having to weave together endless systems and all the cost that that incurs? Our founders have had this current state in mind for something approaching 10 years. And with that, they've had this vision of launching the VAST AI operating system. And we've been unfurling that technology at VAST for the better part of 10 years. And it all started with our revolutionary DAYS architecture. So that's the disaggregated, shared everything architecture on which this entire platform is built. Shared everything stands in stark contrast to shared nothing, which if you've been at this in the analytics and data world as long as I have, every modern data and analytics and therefore AI platform is built on this concept of shared nothing. At VAST, we created and revolutionized an entirely new architecture, shared everything, all flash, and that really paved the way for us to do everything else that we've been able to do at exabyte scale. That includes our universal data store, single data storage platform for all of your data, whether that be object, file, block, and as of today, vector. Super excited to talk about our integrated vector store in the VAST database, which we launched in 2023, which gives us a structured database and data warehouse analytics platform on top of that data store, and that's where our integrated vector store resides. On top of all of this is our compute fabric called Data Engine. And we'll be digging into Data Engine today because that's where our capabilities around Insight Engine, which is our framework for building automated AI RAG pipelines, exists. So all of this, again, a culmination of 10 years of forward-looking vision, revolutionary architecture, and now new capabilities that we're thrilled to be talking to you about today. So as I said, all new, all firsts. And so we are thrilled to say and confidently say that with the latest release of the VAST AI OS, we are indeed the world's most performant database and data warehouse platform. Fastest by any measure and scalable by every measure. We have clients who are running at exabyte scale, and with that DAYS architecture, we're designed to do that all day long. We are also bringing to market the world's most scalable vector store, integrated, as I said, into that VAST database and built on that generational DAYS architecture. All of this in aggregate with this launch gives us the ability for you to deploy real-time enterprise AI at scale. I want to talk about quickly what I mean when I say enterprise AI. I was just talking to a cohort of new VAStronauts today. And, AI is not new. I mean, I ran technology at a large mortgage bank many years ago. And we had at the time a dedicated AI group, but never have we seen what we've seen happen with the shift of generational or generative AI, Gen AI in the last 2 years. And so enterprises have been dabbling in AI for a long time, and Gen AI really unleashed this wave of how do we use AI in our day-to-day operations. And that's the hard part. Many organizations are experimenting with AI, looking at model building and data science, and have been doing that for years. The real challenge is how do you make enterprise AI available at scale and make it operational so that it can serve the business and your customers reliably and with confident governance. And that's, I think, where the biggest problem is for companies who are looking to innovate with AI and then deploy AI-based services and agents across their organizations and ultimately out to the customers who need them. So let's dive into what's new. So our goal, again, with this latest launch, is really to make real-time AI and analytics operational. So the ability to move from, exploratory and experimental AI to really productionizing that, so you can put it to work for your business to drive outcomes and put it to work for your customers. All of that being automated, governed, and of course, built to VAST scale. And again, I think about this as we talked about at the beginning of our conversation. It's really two core sets of capabilities. And again, these are incremental capabilities on top of an already robust AI OS. But again, with this launch, we're culminating many of the capabilities in our Insight Engine built on top of the VAST Data Engine. And then we're also expanding our analytics capabilities in the VAST Database and Data Engine. So let's take a closer look. So we'll start with the VAST Insight Engine. Before we talk about what Insight Engine is, I want to talk about the challenges that enterprises are facing when it comes to realizing this goal of enterprise and operational AI. First is the need to have a unified data foundation. We all know that most organizations have their data scattered across a variety of systems. Often those systems are workload dependent. Am I storing, do I need a pure object store? Is it a file-based system? Is it a vector database? Is this a stream processing engine? So, we've got this very fragmented data ecosystem. And when you think about the demands of our customers who are needing AI, to use AI that we're delivering, they need instantaneous answers, and they need instantaneous answers that can be derived from the entirety of your corporation's data. And that is really hard to do when you're working with data subsets, fragmented data, data silos. You don't know if your data is stale, comprehensive, accurate. One of my colleagues recently said, and I love this analogy, is that in the history, like when we think about how we've done analytics over the years, our goal has been to think about what is the most critical data set that I need to derive an accurate answer. And so analytics is an exercise, or has been an exercise, in funneling down, preparing, normalizing so that you can get an answer. With AI, we want the exact opposite experience. We want our models to be able to access all of the corpus of our enterprise data, because we have no idea what patterns that data can unlock. We want to be able to put all of that data to use, and that's really difficult without a unified data foundation. The second core element is real-time data. Your customer asks a question, they need an instantaneous answer. You need to be able to support event-driven and automated workflows so that your data can be ingested in real time, inferred it, have inference in real time, and get responses in real time. And you need to be able to do this at massive scale. Vector databases that are on the market today just simply weren't designed for the scale that enterprises will require. When you think about the sheer volume of data coming in that needs to be vectorized, and then the sheer data of prompts coming in that needs to be vectorized to be able to retrieve and respond. And then in some ways, for me, I think one of the more critical is being able to govern that at scale across all of your data. A common challenge today, particularly when we're talking about those fragmented data ecosystems where you're moving data from source potentially to lake to warehouse, right? When you're moving data around these fragmented architectures, you have different governance and different security models at each of those stages, and it's really easy for something to fall through the cracks. What you need to be able to do is have fine-grained, consistent, atomic access control and governance across all of your data, because otherwise you really have some significant compliance risks. And so when we look at where VAST sits across this entire ecosystem, what I've got here for you is a pretty traditional RAG pipe. Oh, I think I skipped a slide, guys. I was thinking something. I think I was jumping ahead here. So when you look at all those needs from that previous slide, unified data foundation, real-time data access, massively scalable, unified governance, Insight Engine delivers all of those capabilities built on the VAST Data Engine. VAST Insight Engine is our framework for real-time automated RAG at scale. And we've done that, we're delivering that by giving you a platform that allows you to build, manage, deploy, and govern real-time AI pipelines with the world's first real-time retrieval system, a hyperscale vector database that, it's funny, I was looking at the slide just now and I'm like, it's not millions, it's billions. It's billions of vectors. And we'll actually soon be able to scale to trillions of vectors in our next launch. And all of this with the world's first enterprise AI governance model that allows you to apply consistent governance from raw data at object form all the way up through the vector. So as you're ingesting data, you're able to ensure that those consistent governance rules and paradigms are applied all the way through to inference across all of your data. So let's take a look at a simplified AI RAG pipeline. So, and here what I've done is I'm showing you where, across every stage of the RAG pipeline or AI pipeline, VAST can satisfy and deliver the capabilities you need to get there. So as your enterprise data comes in to the system from all of your different data sources, they can land in that universal object store, universal data store, which again supports data storage and reading for multiple data protocols, whether that be S3, NFS, block. You can structure that data and store that structured data in the VAST database right along with the vectors, which we'll talk about in a second. VAST has an event-driven streaming architecture. We have our own native event broker. That is not part of this launch. We launched that in a previous release, but what that allows you to do is establish event-based triggers so that as data lands in the data store or database, you can prepare that data. You can use our event-driven compute, the data engine, to create customized code, Python code, so you can route that data to various vector embedding models, do that vector embedding and store those embeddings right back in the VAST database. At inference time, we see that workflow happening in the reverse, where the prompt comes in, and then you can do that real-time retrieval from the VAST database to retrieve those vectors and subsequent chunks to provide that answer. And more importantly, AI data begets AI. No, I said that backwards. AI begets more data. So the more AI your organization uses, the more data you're creating that then needs to be logged. Think about if your model makes an error, or as your model might drift, or as you just simply want to improve your model. You need to be logging all of that inference data so that you can constantly learn, course correct, and improve. And that's really where I think many organizations aren't anticipating kind of the explosion of data. When we talk about our vector store being able to scale to ultimately trillions of vectors, sometimes we think, well, that seems like a lot. But that's because we're not accounting for all of the data generated at inference that we need to log and maintain for observability, risk, and compliance. So let's talk about some of the key capabilities of Insight Engine. I'm going to dive into each of these in quite a bit more detail. But as I mentioned, we've got our now natively integrated vector storage and retrieval. We've got VAST serverless functions with customized Python code that you can build or bring. We have our AI-ready access control and governance. That's that unified governance and ACL model from raw data all the way through to the vector. And with that, we're also enabling, with this launch, fine-grained access controls and permissions. So row, table, column level in the VAST database. And that is obviously foundational to being able to enable that AI-ready access control for the vector data. So let's talk about the VAST vector store and search. So we have, as I said, natively integrated our vector store into the VAST database. So the VAST database, again, launched in 2023, is the way that VAST enables structured table-based analytics, and we're storing those vectors natively in VAST database tables. If you don't know this about VAST, the VAST database is truly unique in that it can ingest data in rows, like a traditional transactional database. So you have full asset compliance as data comes into the database. But because we know that when you analyze data, the best way to do that is in columns, the VAST database then writes that data into columns for the fastest analytics results. So those vectors are stored in the VAST database table. And as I said, that can scale currently to billions of vectors and very soon to trillions of vectors, being able to account for not only the sheer amount of data that our customers are generating and needing to apply to their AI initiatives, but also that flywheel of data that is generated at inference logging. Our vector database is also very different because not only is it native and massively scalable, we've simplified operations compared to many of the commercial alternatives on the market. Our vector database has no sharding, and it uses a completely memory-free design. So you've got increased reliability, massively improved performance, and massively simplified operations. It gets you out of that sharding game. Similarly, our database also doesn't require partitioning. So all of those operational headaches that we're accustomed to with traditional warehouses, traditional vector databases are eliminated with the VAST vector store. And again, we've applied that unified AI governance model. You inherit those permissions as they come into the data store as raw data or objects or semi-structured data. And that model is inherited all the way up through to the vector. The second core piece of this, when we think about how we're constructing those pipelines, in VAST, we are launching serverless triggers and functions. So the serverless triggers are part of the VAST Event Broker. Again, those capabilities were already part of the VAST AI OS. But with this launch, we're enabling our serverless functions. And so with those functions, you can write custom Python code. You can bring your code in, existing code in. You can write natively in a code-first model. The VAST Data Engine also has a very elegant, I might say, as you can see here, a little snapshot of this, but a very elegant low-code drag and drop pipeline builder. So whether you're looking to take a code-first approach, your data engineers want to write their own Python, bring that here to help build out those and orchestrate those pipelines. Great. If you prefer a simpler drag and drop model, can do that too. And then all of this is wrapped with extreme observability. So all pipelines are completely auditable, completely traceable, completely observable, whether you've taken a code first or a low code approach. And because all of this is serverless, there's no infrastructure to manage. Can you guys tell that I ran, that I've worked a lot in data governance before? I just think it is so important to underscore that with VAST, we are really eliminating all of those gotchas that come with a very fragmented data pipeline, particularly around governance. And that's, you can have secure RAG, and those changes are inherited on the fly. So as you change permissions in the VAST UI on any of your data, those changes are inherited instantly. So you're able to have very tight control, clear built-in compliance, and a single control plane for all security and all governance on a single platform. And all of this is powered by the VAST Data Engine. The VAST Data Engine is our serverless compute environment. And we like to say that it allows you to bring compute to the data. The data engine allows you to execute container-based compute functions in place for serverless data processing. We're talking a lot about AI on this call, and Insight Engine, which is our framework for RAG and real-time AI. But really, with the VAST Data Engine, you can use these same capabilities. These are inherent capabilities of linking together those event-based triggers from the VAST Event Broker, those serverless functions. And so you can link all of that together really to apply compute to all of your data, for whether that's for traditional data processing needs, data prep, normalization, or for those more sophisticated RAG AI pipeline initiatives, like being able to make sure that you're sending your data on ingest for vectorization, or on inference, logging that inference data. So you can use the VAST Data Engine and these capabilities to build out these unified workflows. You can automate streaming, batch, vector, and SQL using a single platform. As I said, because it's built on the VAST DAYS architecture, or disaggregated shared everything architecture, we can deliver this with real-time and near zero latency. And so when you look at some of the components of the VAST Data Engine, I just like to zoom in here. We've been talking about the Insight Engine, that framework for real-time RAG. Forthcoming soon, too, is our Agent Engine. And our Agent Engine will give us that last layer of the AIOS, where you will have a sophisticated environment to build, manage, and orchestrate agentic AI on top of those RAG pipelines and all of your data. It's a complete environment for all of your AI needs. And if you look at the components of the VAST Data Engine, we've got some of those components that we've been talking about. We've got VAST Integrated Event Broker, which is a Kafka compatible event broker. So not only is it does it behave as a traditional, pub sub event broker, it is the basis for that real-time streaming infrastructure and event-based architecture that allows us to initiate those pipelines. So imagine being able to listen for a new video that lands in the VAST data store. You've used your serverless Python functions to build out a workflow that then sends that video to be chunked by a chunking model and then embedded by an embedding model, where those results, those embeddings and vectors, come back and are stored back in the VAST database, while those chunks are also then stored either in the VAST database or the VAST store. You can do all of that using these left-hand components of the VAST data engine. For more traditional or hybrid analytics needs, we also allow you to run managed Trino on the VAST compute nodes and manage Spark as well. So if you want the simplicity of running Trino and Spark on a VAST compute node or C node, you can do that and simplify all of your infrastructure associated with those different engines, much like you're simplifying event broker complexity by using the native event broker in VAST. Okay, so now let's talk about some of those next-gen analytics capabilities. So again, we're talking here simply about what's new in VAST. And so many of the capabilities of the VAST database that we've been talking about have been part of the database for some time, with the exception of vector store and vector retrieval. But with this launch, we're also super excited to announce that managed Trino that I was just mentioning on the VAST C nodes. One of the incredible things about the VAST architecture about the VAST days architecture is if you think about our compute nodes and you think about our data nodes or D nodes, every C node can see every D node. Every compute node can see every bit of the data. And so unlike traditional architectures where you have massive amounts of shared nothing, which requires a dramatic amount of east-west traffic, our compute nodes talk directly to our data nodes. And so this means that when you're running managed Trino on VAST, you're inheriting all of the goodness of that architecture, that ability for every compute node to speak to every data node at all times without any east-west traffic. When you look at the days architecture, that conversation between C nodes and D nodes, that interaction happens over NVMe over Fabric, which is the lowest latency protocol for communication. The VAST days architecture is also 100% flash. With days, we've changed the economics around flash-based architecture. So these three things and more add up to incredible performance gains across every element of the VAST AIOS, including this managed Trino on the C node. Previously, I also mentioned managed Spark. Yep, we have that. It's just not new. We launched that previously, but the same applies with managed Spark. You get out of all of the infrastructure concerns that you're typically having to navigate when you're running your own engines. In this launch too, we're also thrilled to announce our sorted tables capability for performance optimization. As I mentioned, many of our customers are running VAST at massive, massive scale. I mean, that is one of the fundamental reasons they choose us, is because of our limitless scale and continued and non-degrading performance at any scale. And so some of our customers have tables that are just billions of rows. And when we talk about needing to find a needle in a stack of needles, those operations can take longer. And we wanted to overcome that so that even these massive tables can have that same sub-second latency performance that we see across the database. And so with sorted tables, we've enabled that on these long tables, so we can quickly sort the table, apply these sorts to the tables so that we expedite these long table scans. And so again, thinking about managed Trino, again, benefiting from all the simplicity that you get from not having to manage infrastructure around Trino, optimized for that VAST database. And so you have that seamless SQL querying on the VAST database, giving you 40% improved performance and far less complexity. And with sorted tables, again, enabling those lightning fast queries at any scale for those massively large, long tables, giving you that improved read performance and lower cost. And when I say lower cost, compute drives cost. So anything that we can do to optimize cost above and beyond cost savings that you derive from infrastructure is significant to us. So in conclusion, we are so excited again to announce that we are executing on our vision to enable real-time AI from end to end. We've given our customers the capability to automate those complex AI pipelines at scale, and to do that either with a code-first approach or with a low-code, intuitive user interface. All of this built on our massively scalable DAYS architecture designed for exabytes of data using our now native vector store, which is able to scale to billions of vectors, soon trillions of vectors. All of this on the elegantly simple single VAST platform. All of these capabilities and tools that we were talking about today are part of a single platform, not an ecosystem of products. VAST is a platform, a single platform that is easy to manage. We have customers tell us that they've evolved from having teams of many people managing their platform pre-VAST to a single person being able to do that with ease. All with that unified governance from raw data all the way through to vector, giving us that one unified platform for all of your workloads, whether that be AI or analytics and more. I realized I covered that pretty quickly. Would love to see if there are any questions from any of you. I'm going to take a look at those right now. Becky, do you have a document that describes what you've discussed today? Yes, we have lots of material. And I think we also have some assets. You should be able to see, yep, you should be able to see in the Docs tab on your right. There are three options. There's chat, there's docs, and there's Q&A. If you click on the docs tab, you should be able to see some resources that we've provided for you there. You can also feel free to visit the VAST website and take a look at the Insight Engine webpage. That should provide a lot of great insight for you as well. Taking a look here, we had another question about the query engine that's used for the vector. Yeah, that is a great question. So I talked a little bit about Managed Trino. That is obviously not the query engine that is used for vector. So we have built our own native VAST query engine, and that is what we use to do that vector retrieval. We built that in a way so that it's fully optimized for our DAYS architecture. And while we're currently using today that query engine really as the retrieval engine for vector and for AI, if you stay tuned over time, you'll see that that query engine is going to evolve into a fully fledged VAST query engine that you can use for much more than just vector retrieval. That was a great question. See if there are any other questions before we wrap. Just to reiterate, yes, we will absolutely be sharing the recording with you. And we've just been releasing a handful of really interesting blogs and content around this release. So I encourage you to check out the VAST blog platform at vastdata.com. Take a look at some of those blog posts to learn a bit more. So again, everyone, thank you so much for your time. I'll just give another second, see if any additional questions come in. Okay, everybody loves a few minutes back. It was such a pleasure to host this for you. And if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact us. Thank you so much.